Hi, welcome back to Jumpstart Code. We're going to continue and learn some more about CSS and how to actually style and make our pages look pretty. So, what we've seen so far, I have a page just with some random content in it, just so that we can play around. I've got H1s, H2s, paragraphs. I've got a span element. So a span element is how you have content that you can focus on inside of content. And I could style that differently if I wanted to. If I wanted to make this particular content a different color or a different size, let's say we just change the size of it. So again here, my CSS page is linked here at the top. So this is my CSS page over here. And if I do something to the span element, I could make the font size, and let's make it 1.2 EM. EM refers to making something proportionally bigger than what it already is. So you see that that particular text in there got a little bigger. Let's make it a little bit more. Let's make it 1.5, and we might be able to see a little better what the changes are. So if I go over here, so you can see that the text here is about 50% bigger than the other text. So that's what the EM element allows you to do. So you'll have to remember it's always a percentage. So 1.5, so 2 times. If I put 2 EM here, then it's going to be twice as big. Right? So you can really see the difference there. If I wanted to change the color of it as well, I could say color, let's make it, what do I have over here? We'll make that red. So you can do anything that you want on your page. It's just a matter of understanding how to select things properly. You'll see that all this text by default is left aligned. If I want to center, for example, this heading, this CSS practice, that's my H1. So if I go over here to my styles and I'll add, and the order that you put things in this file doesn't matter. And I will add text align. And you see the nice thing again about this type of editor is it's helping me see what the options are. So I'll put in center. Also, you'll notice, I don't know if I specifically mentioned this before, every time you have a property, you have the name of a property, you have a colon, then you have a value, and you must have a semicolon. So that is the CSS syntax. So we'll save that, and you'll see that this is now centered. So again, the best way to do CSS is to make 1 or 2 changes at a time. That way, it'll be a lot easier to, focus on whether that particular code worked or not. If I want to change the color, I'm just focusing on color right now because it's just the easiest thing to see what has happened when you make a change. I want to make all these list items, so let's go look and see what we have. So because all the list items are inside of this OL, then if I want to change them all, I can just reference the OL, and that should affect everything that is inside of it. So let's go in here, OL, and we will make the color of this. This is kind of crazy in terms of colors, but again, it makes it a lot easier to see. And you see, they're all purple. So specifying what you want. Now, if I wanted, for example, if I wanted the same formatting to be on my OL and my H1 or whatever, you can actually specify, you can use a comma, and you can specify H1, comma H2 here. This will also align my H2 elements as well. So you see? So if I have the same formatting that I want to apply to multiple different elements, then that's the way you can do that. All right. One last thing I want to talk about in this video is border, margin, and padding. So this is called the box model. And if I want to show you a little bit here of what the box model is, you have your content. Outside of your content, the space is called the padding. Then you can have a border. Then outside of that is your margin. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do first. Let's do this to, actually I'm going to do the body. So I'm going to put a border here. Let's just make it 1 pixel dashed black. So I'm specifying 3 things. The width of the border, it can be solid, dashed, dotted, and you can specify a color. So let's look and see what we have with that. Right? So that is my body that has that. Now you'll see the space outside of the border is the margin. The space inside is the padding. So all of this content, if I wanted to move it over a little bit, so I'm going to do one at a time. Let me set up a margin of 10 pixels. And you'll see here that moved the border in a little bit. That gives me 10 pixels outside of the border for the body element. Okay, if I want space here, if I want to move this text over, I can use padding to do that. So I can do padding. Maybe I want 20 pixels. I often like to use different numbers so I can kind of tell the effect, right? So do you see what just happened? That moved the content in because that is the space inside. So again, you've got your border, padding is inside of the border, margin is outside of the border. Now, often what you actually want to do is deal with the padding separately on your individual elements. So I did the body there just to first of all show you what that's like. I'm going to take those off. So let's say my paragraphs here. I want to give them a padding of 20 pixels. So let's see what happens when we do that. So styling your page is often a little bit of a, try and continue to try and change things. So what did we see happen there? Let me take it off again so we can be really clear. I'll put it back. I'll just take it off and see where it was. Right? So you see that's, these are my paragraphs. So if I add some padding to my paragraphs, 20 pixels, let's save. Let's look again here. So notice where it is before I refresh the page. When I refresh the page, the content moved in because the padding is outside of the content but inside of the border. And if I want to move it in some more, if I give it a margin of, we'll make it smaller, 5 pixels, then that's going to move it over a little bit more. It adjusts it a little bit more. So it really is all about a little bit of trial and error, having a plan for what you want to do, and then looking at the structure of your page, adding in IDs or classes if needed in order to allow you to more clearly specify individual elements that you want, right? And then work on things, add things one at a time. Your CSS syntax always has curly brackets, so you're grouping together styling that is attached to some particular selector. So you've got to be very sure of all that syntax when you work on your CSS.